Repeat after me, Vito. If I were to betray the secret of our way of life.
If I were to betray the secret of our way of life.
May my soul burn in hell, just like this saint.
May my soul burn in hell, just like this saint.
Amico nostra. Gentlemen, I give you our new friend, Vito Scaletta.
I'm a mob media kinda guy. The suits, the ceremonies, the omerta, and the murders. Gangster flicks and video games alike have been some of my favorite pieces of media for a long time. The problem with a lot of movies and video games based around organized crime is that the creators oftentimes want to skip to the part that everyone wants to see. And that's the part where the main character is in a mansion or a penthouse with everything they've ever dreamed of at their fingertips. That's after a few scenes briefly introducing how they got there. This formula works, and it has stood the test of time, but when you really want to give your audience a treat, you go a little bit off the beaten path and try something new. Let's take a dive into one of my favorite gangster movies of all time, GoodFellas, and examine how this movie, loosely based on a true story, showed us the sweet spot between rags and riches. Caught the vibe yet? If not, I'll keep delivering quality content until you do. So go ahead and hit like, comment, and subscribe. Henry Hill is a young man who has a passionate desire to be something that of course no one should aspire to be, a gangster. He has a resentment for his life that comes from a short-sighted and shallow outlook. Like most younger criminals, he values money, reputation, and power. He does not, however, value the hard, honest work that his father does, or the safety and security that it provides for his family, despite it not being a glamorous lifestyle. He gets a job at the local cab stand, which is a front for the neighborhood mob's headquarters. His parents were at first excited about the job until they put together that this was not the kind of place where their son could earn an honest living around honest people. He goes from being an errand boy and a car parker to pulling off small crimes and intimidation tactics as a part of protection rackets headed by his boss, Paul Cicero, based on real criminal Paul Vario, who in this film is ironically played by good old Paul Sorvino. After getting arrested and sent to jail for selling cigarettes, Henry earns the respect of Jimmy Conway, played by Robert De Niro, and after a time skip to his young adulthood, we begin the journey of Henry's criminal career as an associate of the Lucchese crime family, in a crew with his trusted friends Jimmy the Gent Conway and Tommy DeVito, played by Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci respectively. They're overseen by Paulie, who is a capo regime in the Lucchese crime family. It's important to visualize the goals that Henry had just as he did. Despite the flashy lifestyle that enticed his wife to be, Karen, Henry and his crewmates are at the very bottom of the mafia's rank structure as associates. At the top is the unseen boss, commonly known as the Don. He's the leader with the final say in all operations. Working closely alongside the Don is the Consigliere, the trusted advisor who gives impartial advice to the Don for the greatest possible outcome in any decision. Next is the Underboss, who acts as a second in command. The Don and Underboss aren't featured in this movie. Then we have a varying number of capo regimes. These are lieutenants like Paulie, who run their own individual crews of soldiers and associates to get different jobs done. A key thing to remember is that at the rank of soldier and above, you are a made man. A made man is an official member of a mafia family sworn to the oath of omerta, which is the mafia's code of silence, and is therefore untouchable. As Henry explains in the movie, if you have a problem with a made man, you must first have a sit-down meeting and get the okay from the boss, or else you would be the one that got whacked. Associates, on the other hand, are non-members, and they have zero say or power. They could consist of local drug dealers, lawyers, or even police officers on the mafia family's payroll. The mafia's strict rank structure and Henry's dreams are deeply intertwined in a story of inevitable struggle and futility. This theme of futility is perfectly encapsulated in two scenes: the murder in the bar and the Lufthansa heist. Both scenes show the bloody karmic nature of the Mafia's rules. In what's arguably one of the most important scenes in the movie, Billy Batts, who is a made man in the Gambino crime family, is released from prison and has a party at Henry's bar. Tommy comes in with his date, and Billy Batts begins to go on and on about how he and Tommy go way back. Tommy, who already doesn't like Billy, is annoyed, and this is further aggravated by the fact that Billy is telling a story of how Tommy originally came up as a shoe shiner. Obviously, being a successful wise guy and well-known hothead, Tommy is ready to tear into Billy Batts. Henry and Jimmy calm him down and he leaves with his date. At the end of the night, Tommy returns to the bar alone, and he and Jimmy begin to beat Billy Batts nearly to death before shooting him in the mouth to finish the job. The crew then buries him in the remote woods, knowing that they would have to take this secret to their own graves. The Lufthansa heist was a robbery at the air cargo building for the Lufthansa airline in New York City's JFK airport. Jimmy was the alleged mastermind behind the heist, but was never actually charged in connection to it in real life. An estimated $5.8 million was stolen in a combination of cash and jewelry. In the aftermath of the heist, the instructions were to not buy anything that would attract police attention and to keep your mouth shut about anything related to it. Unfortunately, Jimmy was not able to rest easy as mistake after mistake was made. Johnny Roast Beef arrives at the bar during the celebration for the robbery's success and brags about the new bright pink Cadillac that he bought for his wife. Shortly afterwards, Frankie Carbone arrives with his wife, who's sporting a $20,000 mink coat. Meanwhile, Maury is continuously harassing Jimmy for his cut, which ultimately leads to Jimmy deciding that all loose ends of this heist need to be cut. This is where the rank structure comes back into place. Because the Mafia uses associates for all of its most dangerous and incriminating grunt work, and associates are fair game to be whacked, Jimmy, who was the mastermind behind the heist and has a good reputation with Paulie, who carries capo rank, was easily able to lead a killing spree that resulted in the deaths of Stax, played by Samuel L. Jackson, for getting high and falling asleep and forgetting to destroy the truck used in the robbery, Johnny Roast Beef and his wife for the car purchase, Frankie Carbone and his wife for the mink coat, and everyone else aside from Henry and Tommy simply out of greed. Jimmy wanted their cuts for his own. Am I missing something? Actually, yes. After the heat from the heist began to finally calm down, Tommy is informed by Paulie that he has the okay to induct him into the family as a made man. Henry and Jimmy are sitting in a diner on the day of the ceremony awaiting the call that it's done. After Tommy says goodbye to his mother in his best suit, he walks into what he doesn't realize is his final moment. There is no time limit on a mob hit, be it for revenge or any other reason. Killing a made man without authorization is unforgivable. So Tommy was whacked, and with that, the closest thing to being an untouchable gangster faded away. Jimmy and Henry are both mixed with Irish blood, so they could never be made men. And they held on to the idea of Tommy one day being made for dear life. GoodFellas is a good gangster movie because it's told from a metaphorical sweet spot as far as the story goes for this genre. Most crime movies are told heavily from a point of Don or Capo status, or they fixate too long on the street corner level dope peddling, drive-bys, and liquor store stick-ups. GoodFellas does its due diligence by showing you that crime doesn't pay, but it also shows you that not everyone who makes it off the block and into a nice suit or a fancy car ultimately makes it to Don status. And behind the veil of superiority, the Mafia is just a gang of thugs in suits who have convinced themselves to believe that they have crime organized. After multiple stints in jail, losing the respect and support of Paulie for choosing to sell drugs against his orders, an uphill battle against addiction to cocaine and pills while getting high on his own supply, and ultimately a drug bust by the DEA, Henry is faced with a choice to risk being killed on the streets for being a loose end or facing 25 years to life in prison for a number of crimes. Henry Hill was chasing a dream that was always inevitably out of reach. And what's worse is that although he spent his entire life working towards this dream, he ultimately became the polar opposite of what he always wanted to be. A rat.
A rat will do anything to survive. Isn't that right, Mr. Hill?
Objection. Objection sustained.
Look, I don't know nothing about being a rat.
Mr. Hill, you know everything about being a rat.
I'm an average nobody. Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook. Tony Cipriani here.
Tony, it's your ma. I just heard you've been made. I never doubted you for a second, son. And seeing as how you've finally proven yourself, I'm calling off that contract I put on you. Let's just put it behind us. After all, I only did it with your best interest at heart. What kind of a son makes his ma go to such lengths? See you soon, son. Don't forget about your old ma.